desk that I purchased last week at the thrift store. It's a total mess with, I don't even know what kind of gunk was stuck on top of it. But, I mean, look at it, it's beautiful. So let's get to work. So first of all, apologies on my voice in this voiceover. On this video, I'm recovering from COVID and I just can't seem to shake it from my chest. And you can hear it, I believe, reflected in my voice. But let's get back to the project here. I am slowly chiseling off the gunk on top of the dresser, and I think it was tar, but luckily it did come off quite easily. The next step is to sand. So as you can see, I need to change the bag of the sander there, but I started with 120 grit and then I worked my way up after it was, the top had been removed of the original finish. Then I went to 150 for the final pass through, and the wood underneath is beautiful. Once the old finish was totally sanded off, I could see the imperfections that needed fixing, and I took my wood filler and with the little spatula here, filled in any spots that needed filling in. The back needed it quite a bit, and there were a couple other places that needed to be filled and sanded before I could refinish the top. So I find it easy to use this little, it's a paint spatula, to do this work, and then sand, and then basically do it multiple times to get a nice smooth finish for your stain. Before applying my paint, I took all of the hardware off and gave the piece a quick clean. I created a custom color. I used Dixie Belle's Blueberry. I added Dropcloth, you'll see that in a second, mixed that in. And then just to brighten it slightly, I added just a dab of the Dixie Belle Blue, just to give it a little bit more pop. But I really think it's a pretty color. It's a softer, more muted blue than the brighter Dixie Belle Blueberry, and you'll see it in a minute when I'm applying it onto the piece. It turned out really nice. And then for the blending, I just used the Dixie Belle Dropcloth, which is that off-white color you see in the pot. I believe I added 2 coats of the custom blue mix before I went in and blended in the Dropcloth. After I blended, I then dry brushed a little bit of the drop cloth using my brush. I'm sorry I didn't catch that on film. I just take the brush, a very light amount of paint, lightly dry brush over it. Then I added a little bit more of the blue. And here I am taking the sandpaper, which is the 120 grit from my sander, and I very lightly distressed around the edges. And at this point I am going to add the gold gilding wax to the hardware. I also added it on the details to make them pop and to make it more of a glamorous French piece of furniture. I must say that I really love how this color changes in the light. The darker the light, the more blue it looks, and the lighter the light, it almost looks like a pale gray blue. I sealed the paint using clear wax. I use wax on all of my pieces to seal. Now I'm back to working on the top. After the piece was painted, I really knew which direction I wanted to take the color. So I am once again sanding and making sure where I had added the wood filler was all smooth and ready to go. This wood actually has a lot of red to it, and I wanted to tone that back before adding my walnut stain because I didn't want the stain to have too much red coming through. So in order to do this, what I always do is I first add gray. This is, I believe it's called weathered wood. It's the Dixie Belle gel stain. I apply the gray all over, wipe it really far back into the wood, and then I go ahead and add the darker walnut stain on top of the gray, and this always gives me a beautiful finish. This is the color of the wood stain after I applied the walnut on top of the gray. And here is the final piece. I'm very happy with it. I think it's beautiful. I love the hardware. I also really, like I said earlier, am enjoying the color, the way it is darker in some lights, brighter in others. The detail of the piece now really shines. The gold is a beautiful accent, and I hope you've enjoyed this project as well. Please consider subscribing to my channel, and I hope to share another furniture makeover or update from the Secretary Cottage soon. Thank you.